young and black, to be called a thug because he happens to be black in this situation. This is the institutional racism that we deal with every day in the court system. There's no indication whatsoever that he was in any way disrespectful. There's no information at all that he was in any way did anything to say he wanted to be a gang member or a thug. He's a young black man charged with a crime. Therefore, he must want to be a gang member. He must want to be a thug. That label that was attached to him through social media almost got him fired, and it was completely unfounded. Mr. Jones did exactly what anyone else in his situation would have done. He cooperated with the police. He was arrested. He promised to be here. He showed up here this morning. He was polite to the police. He did nothing that would suggest that he was in any way trying to act as a thug or want to be a gang member. That's made up from social media, and that needs to stop. He's a young black man charged with a crime. Happens all the time. Let's just deal with the actual facts. And the facts of this case are that they found 2 guns in a carry-on bag that they said was his. He had no intention of bringing any guns into that Logan airport that day. He had no intention of bringing any guns onto an airport that day. And I expect that the evidence is going to show that he had no knowledge of what was going on. And we have to address, in this country, the institutional racism that comes with every time a black man gets arrested. That's not what this is. All Mr. Jones wants to do is play football. He doesn't want to be a distraction at all. In this case, we're grateful to the Patriots organization and to the leaders of the Patriots, so that they didn't believe and read in and feed into what was happening on social media, where people were saying he was a wannabe thug and he was trying to get the guns past security. Nothing could be further from the truth.
Well, all right. Reeta, what's up, Reeta? Welcome
Happy
to Brother
Tuesday.
from Another. Good to see you. It is a happy Tuesday. Despite what you heard there, it is a happy Tuesday overall on Brother from Another. It's always good to see you. And I'm happy. I just want to say before we get started, a nice new picture with your feed. I understand that you have been working behind the scenes to get that new picture. You had a photo shoot. It took about 3 or 4 hours. You picked 3 or 4 pictures that you liked, and so you're gonna, every time you come on, you're gonna have a different, profile pic, so to speak.
That was my good auntie pic. I took some better pictures, but that was my auntie photo that I used for that one.
And the good auntie pic. I don't know if you have a good lawyer pic, but Rosemary Scapicchio, she went in. That's who you heard off the top. That is the lawyer for Jack Jones. Jack Jones needs a lawyer because last week at Logan Airport, going from Boston on his way to Los Angeles, he was stopped at the airport. Allegedly, he had a lot of stuff. He had a lot of stuff with him. As his lawyer pointed out, say, hey, listen. Hey, a black man in America gets arrested. It happens all the time. Hey, Rosemary, we know.
Right,
we
exactly.
know. Hey,
Thanks
listen,
for the information.
you ain't said nothing but a word. Okay, we know that. Okay, Rosemary. But this is a situation where there's a lot for Jack Jones. Look at these charges, gun-related charges, lots of them, bringing in a Glock, bringing in a loaded weapon, large capacity, like on and on. I mean, there were so many things. One firearm is not registered. There are a lot of things that he has to deal with, and a couple of those charges, Reeta, a couple of them have 2.5 year, if convicted, they have 2.5 year minimum jail sentences, minimum. Yeah. And another one, and the other two have 18-month minimum jail sentences.
Yeah.
Prison. So there are many charges, and I guess we got to unpack it this way. Clearly, I don't have to tell you, and you don't have to tell me, that we know that institutional racism is a part of the American fabric, is a part of America's DNA. Whether some people don't believe that, We know it. Now, you don't have to believe it. Some people have theories on it. Your lived experience, my lived experience, and just our common sense, Rita, tells us different. So we know. Got it.
Yeah.
And we know that the justice system does not see all of us the same way and has not treated all of us the same way. That's a fact. So the lawyer wants to stay on the facts. I want to stay on the facts too. And I also want to point out that she has, I want to just give some love to her context. Her context is, I don't know if people realize, she's a Netflix famous lawyer. There's a Netflix documentary called Trial 4, and it tells the story of a Boston young man, the name of Sean Ellis, who spent nearly 22 years of his life, starting when he was 19 years old, spent nearly 22 years of his life in prison, wrongfully accused of murdering a state police officer. 22 years. His attorney was Rosemary Scapicchio. And we know that there are many examples of this. Well, as a matter of fact, I think we talked about this guy on the show once named Ron Sullivan, an attorney named Ron Sullivan. He did a TED Talk years ago because he has done the work of looking at some of these wrongful convictions and getting them overturned. And his whole point of his TED Talk was, hey, do some justice today. He said, don't just wait around for somebody to do it. You got to go ahead and do the work. And he pointed out in his TED Talk, when one person was convicted, if somebody had just done a little extra step, done the extra work, there's a man who wouldn't have spent years and years in prison. So it's up to all of us to do that extra work. So I got it. And so Rosemary Scapicchio has been a part of that. Yeah. In this case, though, Rita, I feel like she's talking about social media more than she's talking about the facts that we know. The facts that we know is that Jack Jones wound up at the airport with some loaded weapons. And now he's going to have to deal with that. Like all this other stuff of all this other energy of, hey, we know black folks are not thugs. I know. I ain't calling him a thug. I'm not a thug. I know. So, but what I don't know, Rita, and you take it from here, what I don't know is why the hell he go to the airport with a bag of weapons? That's what I want to know.
Exactly. So this is multi-layered, right? Like, first things first, that lady's haircut tells me she's not to be played with. So he picked the right person to represent him because she's not going to play around. Okay, she's about her business. And the one thing that she did that, a good lawyer would do is create a press conference and and try to create a public perception for their client, and which she did in saying that the media and social media is labeling this young man. Clearly, he has a Second Amendment right like everybody else. And so I do think that there's different labels between when white people have weapons versus when black people have weapons. This is not the first time somebody has gone to the airport with weapons. It's actually happened a whole lot since COVID. So that's been a thing, but we don't hear people. Well, first of all, we don't hear people of these calibers being caught with those types of weapons. But ultimately, we don't hear white people being labeled as being thugs because, they forgot to, take out their guns when they went to the airport. So there's that part of it. There is a systemic part of it that we do have to address, that people are going to try to say this man is a thug. That being said, there's rules and regulations here, and that he is no different than anyone else. He has to abide by the same rules that you and I do, Holley, when we go to the airport. And the main thing is you're not supposed to have firearms. So I'm trying to understand what had you in a position where you forgot or you thought you could get away with it. Add to the fact that you potentially or allegedly have some illegal non-registered weapons, that makes it even worse. And so, yes, people unfortunately are going to label you as a thug. They are going to say these things because they want a reason. And unfortunately, you've given it to them by going to the airport with a weapon that is not registered in your name. So,
Yep.
yes, is all of these things that you said about institutionalized racism true? Absolutely. But we also have to have accountability and understanding that things that we do also affect how people view us as well. And that's not fair. Let me be clear. It's not fair because it really is a human thing. The same mistakes that you and I make are the same mistakes that white people can make, or, Latino people or Asian people. So it really is a humanized thing. The problem is the world doesn't see it that way. And so when you make these types of mistakes, they are already ready to label you. You're now giving them the ammo to do just that. And so now she's trying to change the public perception of her client being a thug and simply saying, oh, he's not a thug, he's not doing that. When really, I mean, he's not. But you can't make those types of mistakes, unfortunately.
That's right. That's right. So basically, Reeta, what I'm hearing is we shouldn't be, I just want to make sure I get the messaging here. We should not assume that every black person who's arrested is guilty or doing some, a part of some kind of gang thuggish life. Okay, that to go with the provocative or pejorative terms. Okay, so we shouldn't do that, and we shouldn't be judgmental because just because there's an arrest, that doesn't mean we know the real story. So okay, so let me just bring something up here on the screen. Come on, bring it up here, Gary and Natalie, bring it up. We shouldn't be judgmental because we don't know what people are going through. Just because you get an accusation doesn't mean you actually did something wrong. So, Jack Jones, before this little situation, he had some words for John Morant. Okay?
Oh, hey.
He tried to tell John Morant, he said, John Morant, you're dumb. I'm gonna read the tweet. You letting social media and your pride ruin your real money. Put them guns down, he says to John Morant, and run that money up. Make one of your homies sign up for security or concealed carry if you feel like you need it that bad. But you the breadwinner, you got to start acting like it. So he got all kinds of advice.
Well, look at that.
For John Morant. And then he'd go to the airport. Dumb. Ooh, that's strong.
Not do it, just say not do.
I don't know if I want to be called either. I think I'd rather be called a thug than called dumb.
Yeah,
call me dumb?
Because a thug is a subjective term, right? When people call you dumb, it's subjective as well, but usually there's information that kind of leads to like, yeah, that wasn't that smart of a thing to do. And what John Morant did was not that smart of a thing to do, right? However, you can't be going out here giving advice, man, and you out here doing the same thing. Now, do I consider those things to be different? Yes. And I say this, let me say why, Holley, because not that long ago, we saw that players have been getting robbed. And so there's very possible that he wanted to protect himself. It's very possible that whatever city he was going to, he wanted to make sure that he was protected and that he just did not take the proper channels of carrying these things legally. Right. And that's the issue. But ultimately, we can't sit here and say what you did was dumb, Ja, and then sit here and say to you, well, why you just didn't go to the website and see how you could be able to carry these weapons without getting in trouble. I mean, you ain't that bright either. Now with all this, you ain't a scholar either, sir. So it's not looking too good in your favor.
Yeah. And look, this is not a gun conversation or gun judgment overall conversation.
Right.
I'm not even going there. I'm not interested in that.
Yeah.
If you are interested in guns, I know a lot of athletes, probably even more than we talk about, a lot of athletes have licensed firearms.
Yep.
For many reasons. Some for recreational purposes, some because they feel like they have to protect themselves and they're going to do even though they're professional athletes and they're rich and they're famous, and you don't think anybody will mess with them, maybe because of that, people will mess with them or more likely to come at them. So they're professional athletes. This is not a news story. It's a news story today, but this is not a news story of professional athletes having guns. But there is a way to go. There is a way to handle that business. And I also want to point out with Jack Jones, it's not like Jack Jones just sitting around minding his own business. He gets arrested at the airport and people start wondering what's going on unfairly. No, there's a history here. He does have a history, and you can't just pop off and say, oh, people are jumping on Jack Jones.
Right.
Jack Jones, I mean, goodness, I don't think anybody was hurt. So excuse my little chuckle at this. Jack Jones robbed a Panda Express. Man, this brother robbed a Panda Express and was on house arrest, Rita, for like 45 days. He was like,
come on, man.
Come on, Panda Express. Panda Express.
Oh, the Panda Express.
Come on. Like, Panda Express.
Chipotle wasn't open. I'm just kidding.
Right.
I'm just kidding.
Panda Express. He was kicked out of USC right after being kicked out of USC for academic purposes. 3 weeks later, I think it was 3 weeks later, hit the Panda Express, goes to junior college, goes to Arizona State, suspended at Arizona State, fighting in practice. Drafted by the Patriots, rookie year, doing well. Suspended his last 2 games of his rookie year, misunderstanding. Right after OTAs, or right after mandatory minicamp. Wasn't OTAs. Mandatory minicamp, they tell you when you leave. They do the same thing in Baltimore that they do in Boston, that they do in New York, that they do in Chicago, everywhere else. Hey, y'all, we're going to have our little break. Our research suggests that this time away, from June until late July when training camp starts, that's when things tend to go wrong.
Yep.
Just please keep it together. Please keep it together. All right, don't do anything
it's
crazy.
Hard, right? Go on vacation.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's what he was trying to do. I don't know. I don't know. But go on vacation and don't take your weapons with you. I mean, or don't put them in the carry-on with you. I'm confused as to how we've gotten to this point. At this point, you know better. So I'm confused how we're here, and all the mistakes that you've made you're completely unaware of what it is that you're doing. The lack of self-awareness to me, Holley, is amazing. When you break down his history in terms of how he's gone up into his current NFL career with the Patriots, you know better. Every instance that you have dealt with, you know better. And today is no different. You having a gun, you know better. There are ways to be able to carry these items and do it legally. I am confused as to how that was an oversight on your behalf. So the lack of awareness for you to go after Ja Morant when you yourself have a lot of things that you need to clean up in your house is very hilarious, hypocritical, whatever you want to call it.
Well,
but stop giving out advice and worry about yourself right now.
Well, what we have is Ja Morant now was not charged with the crime. So Ja Morant took accountability for the crime that he was not charged with. Whereas Jack Jones, he says not guilty. We'll find out what the real story is. We will watch this. How do the Patriots respond? Where do we go from here? Lot more. There's a lot more to get to with the Jack Jones story. A lot more to get to on this show. We're going to talk some hoops too, and some more football hoops coming up with Kurt Heelan of Pro Basketball Talk. Hey, thank you for watching Brother from Another. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Don't forget you can catch us 3 to 4 weekdays on PeacockTV.com and on Sirius XM Channel 85.